Hi, I'm Max Keiser. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. Time now to go to Mike Maloney. He is the maestro here at goldsilver.com. Mike, welcome to the Keiser Report.
It's great to be here, Max. Thanks.
All right, Mike.
Be here in my own office.
It's fantastic. This is the nerve center for the battle against the shysters. Now, Mike Maloney, everywhere we look in the financial system and the economy, we see fraud, egregious mistakes, vaporized funds, austerity, money printing. Are there any other reasons to own gold and silver?
Well, yeah. Every 30 to 40 years, the world has a new financial system. The dollar standard is approaching 41 years old. You can see these man-made systems blowing up right now in Europe. I said in my book, the euro cannot last. You can't have all these different countries setting their own monetary policy and sharing one central bank. It's not possible.
Okay, you mentioned Europe. Let's talk about Europe. The euro is obviously under a great deal of strain. Greece now openly talking about getting out of the euro. So how would this impact the global banking system? Because is it like another Lehman Brothers type moment?
Well, I think it's worse than a Lehman Brothers type moment. You know, the other times that we transitioned from one monetary system to another, they were just little baby steps off of gold. We used to use 100% gold backing for the currencies, and then the Federal Reserve Act in 1913 lowered that to 40% reserve ratio, reserve of gold backing the currency in the United States. The Bretton Woods system, basically all the different currencies were backed by gold through the U.S. dollar, and now it's not backed by anything except the promise of future taxation. It's backed by bonds, which have to be paid out of our future taxes. So we're borrowing prosperity out of the future to spend it today. And you're seeing right now this borrowing going exponential. It's going to implode one day. And when it does, the people holding currencies will have a different dollar. It'll probably be a gold-backed dollar or whatever. But the currencies that are unbacked go to zero, and the wealth of those people is transferred to the wealth of the people that are holding precious metals.
Now, you mentioned back in 1913, the dollar was backed 40% by gold. Now, since this time, and especially in the last 10 or 15 years, there's been an explosion in derivatives and other credit instruments that have to be accounted for one way or another if we go back to some kind of gold-backed currency. Let's say we go back to a 40% gold-backed note currency. At what price would gold have to be to clear all those hundreds and trillions of dollars in the system? I've heard estimates anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 an ounce and higher. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I wrote my book in 2008, it came out. What we've seen is in 1934 and in 1980, the value of gold at the Treasury rose because of the price change to match or exceed the value of the currency in circulation, the circulating medium. And in 1980, I include credit card debt, because when people make a charge on a credit card, they're creating a dollar that didn't exist. When you pay that dollar to a merchant's checking account, his checking account can't tell the difference between paper cash or these credit dollars that you created when you charge on your credit card. So I add that to the circulating medium, and gold exceeded both base money, the paper cash in circulation, plus outstanding revolving credit in 1980. It's doing so again, but right now it requires a price between $15,000 and $20,000 an ounce, and even if you don't include credit card debt, it requires a price over 10 for the value of the gold, the ounces at the Treasury, to meet or exceed the value of the currency in circulation. And so it's a process that has happened over and over again. We have charts and graphs that we've got the data from 1918. This has happened thousands of times over and over again since the first great inflation in Athens in 407 BC.
I got to ask you a question really on the societal level. The bank, J.P. Morgan, their London desk blew up. They lost $2 billion or $20 billion, depending on how you make the calculation. They got rid of some of the traders there. They're replacing the traders in London with someone from long-term capital management who was involved, of course, in that huge debacle, which was on the history of huge financial catastrophes, all based on, they are rooted in the same misperception that the bankers have analytic tools to manage risk. They don't. Jamie Dimon can't manage risk. His bank balance sheet's at risk. He's out of control. What does it say about a society in America where these lawbreakers, these criminals, they keep being recycled. Not only are they not thrown in jail, but they are given job after job after job. What does that say, not only about the economy, but about this country?
It's pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't bode well for the future of this country, because we do keep on promoting. If we find somebody incompetent, we promote them. And, you know, you look at the people that, for instance, running the Treasury and a lot of the presidential cabinet. You find somebody that failed miserably, and you give them a bigger job to do. And I don't think it bodes well. I think that we're going to, there is going to be, within this decade, the greatest financial calamity of all. But when it comes to our freedom, this is what I worry about most. I'm seeing a deterioration in the United States and more of an intrusion of government in our private lives.
What is this notion that the solution is either austerity or money printing? And they never talk about, well, maybe we should arrest the criminals. What's that all about?
Because the rules are being written by the criminals.
Okay. Well, enough said. I think I mean, they've captured the system and they run the. Okay. Now, Mike Maloney, everywhere we look, we hear more and more voices calling for money printing. Citigroup's chief economist said central banks can and should crank up quantitative easing, everything under the sun, and do the helicopter money drops. So again, to follow up on the previous question, money printing versus austerity. In the U.S., it's money printing, the helicopter drops. It's not working. It hasn't worked. Citigroup economist is making the notion that the idea can work. Let me ask you this: intellectually, where is he drawing from that he can even make a statement like that? What theory is he believes? Is it Keynesianism? How does he get so misguided?
Keynesians seem to think that you can that there's this big economic cloud out in space, and you can stick a straw up there and sort of draw energy into the system. They don't realize that it's a closed system, and that when you print currency, you're actually sucking economic energy from one area and expanding it in another. And that's when all these misallocations of capital and disequilibria build up, and then the whole thing eventually explodes. But one thing about a monetary system where you borrow every dollar into existence and then you promise to pay interest on that dollar that exists, there's always more debt than there is a currency in existence to pay the debt on the currency. And so with a system like this, you can't live within your means and pay down the debt. If you do, you collapse the currency supply because you owe more than you have. So you always have to go deeper and deeper into debt under this type of system. So the people that are talking about living within our means, paying down the debt, it's impossible. We have to go down this road until the whole thing implodes.
Okay, let's talk about austerity for a second, because that's the other side of this discredited argument. Austerity, as it's being rolled out in Europe, it's causing deflationary spirals in Spain and Greece. You've got mass suicides, hunger, perhaps revolution. So obviously, again, we always come back to the same notion. Neither side works, and yet there's no willingness to put the bad guys in jail, except in China. China, the report there, it's interesting that when they catch a banker doing bad things, they execute them. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Is this a bit over the top, or?
No, that's a good law to adopt worldwide.
So that would be, well, I can't argue with you there. Now, one of the things that we hear from people who are afraid to buy gold and silver is that the government might confiscate it. Should we be more concerned about this after especially JP Morgan stole that money from the MF Global customers? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I own personally just physical gold and silver. When you hear the word confiscation, it's usually coming from the lips of a dealer that is selling some overpriced numismatic coin. They talk about the confiscation when Roosevelt signed an executive order requesting American citizens to turn over their gold to any member branch of the Federal Reserve, and they bought the gold from you. They did not confiscate it. It was a nationalization of gold, and they put it all in one place to be held in trust for all of us. That's the definition of nationalization. And so they nationalized gold. They did not confiscate it. So that is just a myth. if the U.S. government, for instance, if Obama were to sign an executive order nationalizing the gold one again, then I think traders around the world outside the United States would start dumping dollars because they would know there's something wrong with the U.S. dollar, and they would buy gold, and so it would be like signing a death warrant to the U.S. dollar if Obama did that. So I don't think they're going to do that. If they do it, it's probably going to be in the middle of a hyperinflation where they don't care. And at that point, your winnings already would be huge. You give them your gold and you buy some other asset. The wealth transfer will be over with by that point. So I still believe currently in buying gold and silver. That's what I do.
All right, Mike Maloney, you're a very successful businessman here in Santa Monica, California. Your governor has announced that the budget deficit has soared to $16 billion. What's going on in California? Is it going to go the way of Greece and Spain? Talk about the regional economy here.
Yeah, but we'll get bailouts quicker than Greece and Spain are getting bailouts. So I don't think you're going to see California go under. But you know, the whole system is ridiculous. It's the system that is the problem, not these individual symptoms.
The President, Barack Obama, was here. He raised a lot of money. He's had a fancy fundraiser. I think George Clooney was there. He raised a lot of money. There seems to be a real disconnect with the intelligentsia of this town, the stars, as they're called, with the underlying forces that shape the economy. There seems to be a real misunderstanding of what's going on, and it seems that if these folks are really concerned about the future, they would focus more on some of this criminality that's going on Wall Street. How come not a single heavyweight Hollywood star has come out against the banksters? I ask you that. You're in California, you're in LA. What's up with these people? Why are they so ignorant of this fact, or are they conflicted?
You know, I think they believe the mass media, and the news here isn't, in the United States, the news isn't, it's reporting a biased view of the truth. And so they believe that what they're doing is right, I'm sure. All of these Hollywood stars, when they're raising money for this candidate or that candidate, but they don't know the economics behind the situation.
Even though the very notion of what these banks are doing, booking profits immediately and amortizing losses indefinitely, is in fact the definition of Hollywood accounting. That started here, is now global. Maybe that's the reason. It's their own system. Yeah. It's gone global. Of fake accounting.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. We've got fake accounting everywhere, and you know, this is it's good for the banks and bad for everybody else.
Mike Maloney, thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you so much, Max.
All right, and that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I want to thank my guest, Mike Maloney of goldsilver.com. If you want to send me an email, please do so at keiserreport@rttv.ru. Until next time, Max Keiser saying bye, y'all.